Being very entitled and controlling, narcissists have no difficulty stepping all over your personal boundaries. So that's why I put together an extensive video class called This Is Me. It has 25 videos, written documents, guided questions. I'm going to teach you how to have healthy boundaries. There's a link below, and I hope you'll find it to be quite therapeutic. I'm going to go into a raw space with you here today, and I want to talk with you about some of the pain and frustration that can be a residual of having been with a narcissist. You see, we're going to begin with the notion that says when you've been connected with a narcissist for any length of time, it's going to reveal that these individuals are not constructive in the way that they approach relationships. They are destructive. They want to tear you down, and in fact, that becomes part of their life strategy. I'll tear you down so that I can elevate myself. It's not a good strategy for living, but I think you know what it means to be the one who's on the receiving end of that. That's how they operate. They have to be in the superior position. And in the process, when you are on the receiving end of this tear down communication and behavior, there are all sorts of things that you have been exposed to. Plain and simple, you were exposed to lots, and when I say lots, I mean a lot, of criticism. You can walk away wondering, am I ever going to measure up to this person's impossible criteria? They can find something wrong with me with pretty much anything I think, say, or do. You've been exposed to repeated invalidations. That's not right, or I can't believe you would think that, or who would pay any attention to you? And over time, you can walk away wondering, well, do I just not make sense at all? Am I just kidding myself to think that I'm a reasonable and normal person? And they can wear you down in respect to that. Likewise, you're going to be exposed to many of their opinions and preferences, and it's okay to have opinions and preferences, but part of the narcissistic pattern is they can hold on to theirs with a very harsh and controlling demeanor. You know that there's this hard agenda that they have for you, and they're going to try to fit you into the grooves that they have designed for you. And over time, you begin wondering, well, do I not have a say with respect to who I get to be and how I want to manage life? And the answer is no. Just shut up and do what I tell you to do. Likewise, you've been exposed to many double standards. They can feel certain things. They can have certain opinions. They can have their priorities and preferences. But in many ways, you can't. You're not allowed to be like they are because you see they're enlightened. They're better than you, at least in their mind. And you can walk away feeling like this relationship feels like it's rigged from the very start. I'm the designated loser. Likewise, you can have many shame messages given to you, and many times those shame messages are delivered with lots of anger and harshness and derision and being dismissive toward you. And you walk away thinking, this person just holds me in contempt. There's hardly anything that they can see that's good in me. And over time, the exposure to these kinds of patterns and the tear down that they bring to you brings a great deal of instability to your emotions. Your inner strength is whittled away, and you can feel like a shell of the best version of you that you want to be. Now, when I was in my therapy office for 40 plus years, and people would come and talk with me about things that I'm mentioning to you right now, one of the things I would watch for would be trends and patterns that would result from these kind of exposures. And today I want to talk with you about 4 of the most common trends that are the result of the narcissist wanting to tear you down so that they can elevate themselves falsely. The first trend we're going to identify is that of loneliness. There are times when you can have this sense of perplexity, this confusion and bewilderment. You know, what's been going on in my life? And then it can lead to questions like, is anybody even going to be able to understand what I've been through? I mean, how do I explain in detail what the nuances are and what the backstory is and who I am and how this person is and how we got to be this way? I mean, how do you explain that to someone in 3 minutes or less? This whole thing that I've been through makes no sense. I'm struggling to find closure. Am I the problem? And so you can kind of feel like there's an isolation that you're thrust into when you go away from them, because it's like, who's going to know me? Who's going to understand me? And certainly the narcissist has made very little effort to be that way toward you. A second primary pattern that we see in the aftermath of them tearing you down is the feeling of being out of control. Just that sense that says, I have been programmed for so long to fit inside that person's groove. I've been managed by this individual. When I do expose my uniqueness or my distinctions, I'm told that I have to get back in line, in so many words. I'm so accustomed to walking on eggshells, it's kind of hard for me to know, well, what would the real free me be? It's like, well, I'm constantly trying to filter it through that other person's grid, and I haven't been all that great at knowing how to do that. And then in addition, with that out of control feeling, you can nurse the thought that says, what I wish I could control that person in reverse. And of course, what that does is it keeps you in their game when you perpetuate that kind of thinking. A third issue that's very common is fear can become embedded. And by that I mean you can ask yourself the question, who am I going to be able to trust again? And you can have your walls of defenses that are very high, and you can think within yourself, I just feel like I'm constantly having to justify who I am. That's been the habit that I've developed by virtue of the exposure that I've had to that individual. I don't want to pull my walls down again and have the same thing happen all over again. If I'm open, if I'm vulnerable, there's the chance that I'm going to be judged all over, or people can judge me for not having handled this correctly. And so you can have this sense of fears, like I don't know who to trust and how to put myself out there. And then a fourth common trend is you can struggle with a sense of anger that has an accompanying and a residual disillusionment that goes along with it. So many times I would hear people talk about how I'm struggling so much with resentment and bitterness because of what I've had to go through. Sometimes I feel rage, or sometimes I feel hate. What am I supposed to do with that? I mean, that person needs to be taught a lesson, and sometimes you wish you could have some vengeance against that person. And then there are times when you realize, I just feel like I'm just sitting on this keg of free-floating anxiety and tension and agitation. I don't want to be that kind of person, but it's just gurgling up inside of me, waiting for an excuse to come out. So we ask the question, when you've been exposed to somebody who takes upon themselves the task of tearing you down to build themselves up, how are you going to manage this? Now, the first thing I'm going to mention is let's let go of the notion that you can and should change both the narcissist and the circumstances that you were involved in with that narcissist. You know, there's a paradox that we're going to draw upon, and that is the best way for you to be in control is to quit trying to be in control. You don't have to control that person. You don't have to control what happened. There's just certain things that are there they are, and let's go ahead and acknowledge I'm limited in terms of how I'm going to be able to respond to those people over there. Now, having said that, let's also acknowledge that it's okay to accept your emotions as normal. I mean, it'd be like if a person has been through some physical surgery and then you're in the recovery room with that person and you say, now, I'm hoping you don't have any pain associated with this. Well, if you've been through surgery, there's going to be some pain. Now, you can work through it over time. And in the same way, when you've been through a very difficult time with that narcissist and you're trying to remove yourself, there's going to be some residual pain. It's what I refer to as walking with your psychological limp. You're going to carry it, and what we're going to do is we're going to listen to what that pain is trying to tell you. Now, that being the case, then we're going to take it a little bit further, and we're going to say, please make sure that you do connect with someone that you consider to be safe. Be willing to tell your story. I know sometimes the emotion can feel so overwhelming that it's like, well, I don't even know how to say it. Well, you don't have to keep it secret and you don't have to hold it inside. It's helpful to know that someone who understands the essence of love can hear you and know you and symbolically put an arm of encouragement around you. That in and of itself can be so essential and so healing. And then along with that, I'm hoping that eventually you'll be willing to tune into other people who may have some similar frustrations and hurt and pattern that you can relate to. They may not have had the exact same circumstances as you, but the bottom line is struggle is a part of the human experience. You've struggled, other people have struggled, and some people know how to relate to it in a way where a true support system can arise. Please avail yourself to that. And then in addition, as you move forward, refrain from all or nothing thinking. Life is not all good. Life is not all bad. The narcissist does not represent every single human being. There is some good out there, even though there is some bad out there. And let's figure out where we can find some middle ground so that you can be realistic in your expectations. And then in addition, we're also going to say don't require total healing in your life. And I know that part of you says, well, I want to be healed of all of this. Well, like I say, you are going to have some residual that's just going to be there. But then what I will say, despite that, focus on the one time frame that you have that you can do something with, and that is your today. As you go through each day, you're probably able to at least at some level understand that there are certain circumstances or people or events that you're going to need to respond to. Begin questioning, who do I want to be? What traits do I want to have in those circumstances? And plan out the way that you want to respond to people and events in a way that's consistent with your identity and the ingredients that you want to have that are most central to who you are. And by the way, that's where a therapist can help you out with respect to that. You see, the bottom line is the narcissist will in fact bring negativity and destruction, but they don't bring the final word. And I hope that you hear that, and I hope you hear it and integrate that in that message right down to the core of your being. You have one thing in your possession that the narcissist absolutely cannot have, and that is your character. You can hold on to your integrity. You can define what your character is going to be, the core ingredients that you're going to proceed with moving forward. And I'm hoping you can think to yourself, I'm going to take charge of the one person that I know that I can do something with, and that's me. From this day forward, I'm going to be true to who I am. That narcissist may feel like they want to tear other individuals down. I'm in the building business, and I'm going to build myself back up so that I can then be a healthy connection source for other individuals. And I hope that videos such as this can give you some good awareness and insight of what you might be dealing with. You're not alone. And other individuals have gone through this, and I know you can too. And I hope that the videos can assist you in the education process. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. I would encourage you to do so. We're going to keep more coming, and I hope that there's a cumulative effect as you watch more videos so that you can strengthen yourself from the inside out. I mentioned therapy just a moment ago. There are times when you've been through some things like this that you could use a therapist that could assist you going through or moving forward. You know, I've been sponsored for years by the people at BetterHelp.com. It's a whole team of licensed professional therapists. It's online, it's affordable, it's accessible, it's proven to be effective. Please, if the need is there, go beneath the link you're going to find there. If you go beneath the link that we have beneath this video, you'll get a 10% discount on the first month, but get the therapy that you know that you could use. In addition, I have my therapeutic courses. It's like signing up for an online class, and I put a lot of work into it. I'm a therapist, and I'm trying to figure out how I can put some things out there that are going to be helpful for you. Each course has at least 25 videos, and each video has accompanying written documents, guided questions to take you in a certain direction. We have Ready, Set, Connect, making good connections with people. This is me about establishing those necessary boundaries, free to be, finding yourself despite the controllers. We also have my webinars, and they've been presented differently, and they're on our website, as well as we have my podcast, many articles and books, so lots of resources. I'm hoping that you can decide, if the narcissist made it their goal to tear me down, I have a goal of building myself up, and if I can find some individuals that would like to go in that direction with me, all the better. I'm hoping that you can find your formula for healthiness and steadiness, because ultimately I'd like to see you move in the direction of being a person of peace.